Hello, my name is Trydar, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build this futuristic honeycomb cliff base slash laboratory in Minecraft. Let's get started. So ever since I posted this on Instagram several months ago, this has been a much requested tutorial, and I have finally finished the build, and I will be demonstrating it to you today. First, let's take a look at the exterior. As you can see, the base is made up of a central hexagon surrounded by 6 more hexagons to give us a general honeycomb shape for our futuristic laboratory. And there are of course several windows, and the design is somewhat asymmetrical out front with how the projections come out on this side and that side, but there is also a hint of symmetry in it as well. Now let's take a look at the undersides of the base here. These sides as well. As you can see, the base is designed to slot directly into the face of a cliff. You could also slot this into the face of a large cave or in a very large nether biome as well. And possibly an ant island, I suppose, if you wanted to try to do that. But the building is essentially an interior, and it is designed to be accessed solely by elytra, which over here, this is your main entranceway. So it's got a little runway and landing pad, so you would fly in here. And then let's take a look at the interior that I have constructed for this laboratory here. As you can see, there's several walkways, some hidden lighting, in fact a lot of hidden lighting in here, and a staircase, and a view back towards the entrance here. Oh, as you can see, we have a very futuristic color palette going on here with lots of whites and grays with the white concrete and cyan terracotta. But we also have cool blue accents with all of the glass that we use, as well as the sea lanterns. And the floors are of course all made of spruce to give us a bit of a warm tone in an otherwise cold structure, and I think the palette works fairly well together. Let's start flying around and take a look at what all we've got in here. As you can see, we have a main atrium, and we have several doorways that extend off from that, and those are your various laboratories. So let's take a look at one of these smaller laboratories. If we go through the small hallway over here, we come into a hexagonal room, and all of these rooms look exactly the same. They have lighting in the floors and the ceilings here. It's probably not quite enough to prevent spawns in survival, so you will have to add a bit more lighting whenever you install your laboratory equipment in here for whatever use you choose to have for your rooms. But there are 12 of these in total, 6 along the main level here and 6 more along the upper level here. Of course, to get up to the upper level, you have a number of ways to do that. There is a staircase back here that ascends up and to either the left or the right this way here. And there are several platforms up here for you to put more things on if you so choose. You could put a bit of greenery in here as well. Some plants on the sides or hanging down from the ceiling might look fairly nice. But there are a couple of ways to get around in here, as I've said. There are a couple of suspended walkways and some more stairs in here, which will take you to the main facade of the building, and you can look out some of the windows here and put additional things in these rooms, of course. And if we go around here, we can go in one of the hexagonal side rooms here, but there are also some stairs in here as well to access both of these rooms, which tie into a set of stairs over here to take you back down to the main level. And there are also some smaller rooms on the sides over here. And of course, the ceiling is done in here with a structural yet futuristic looking pattern. It's just subtle variations of a white concrete back layer with some cyan terracotta ribbing put at various intervals along the way here. And there is one more room hidden back here behind the main stairs, and it is going to be your power core room. Because what self-respecting futuristic laboratory would be complete without a power core in it? There's also some controls here that do absolutely nothing but look pretty. And as we can see below, it is of course active with your main fusion core down here, and below that the power that is generated is being distributed to various parts of your base via these power conduits down here. And there is also, it's a glass floor, but you've got some glass railing here, and of course the entire room is a giant hexagon. So let me give you a good view around here. I'm quite pleased with how the power core room has come out. I've always wanted to have a base that had a power core in it, but until now I haven't had a reasonable idea to add one of those. So I hope you like the design. It's mostly just a bit of clever redstone flashing lights, but all it has to do is look good, so that's all that is important there. So I think we have had a fairly extensive tour of the futuristic laboratory, so take a look at the bill of materials you are going to need to construct the laboratory wherever you choose to in your own world. Alright, the materials list is as follows. You're going to need 4,120 blocks of cobble, 5,565 spruce planks, 156 sticky pistons, 845 stone slabs, 26 torches, 403 redstone dust, 78 pressure plates, 41 redstone repeaters, 3,381 light blue stained glass blocks, 108 redstone lamps, 173 spruce stairs, 1 redstone comparator, 24 quartz stairs, 19,788 blocks of white concrete, 15,529 blocks of cyan terracotta, 319 light blue stained glass panes, 1,740 sea lanterns, 234 end rods, 136 observers, and 224 blocks of yellow concrete. So for the reference model here, the entire structure is encased in a block of regular stone here. And the format of the tutorial is going to be every slice that I have made, every phase of this, is going to be 2 blocks taller than the previous slice. So we will begin at the bottom and work our way up from there. Now, the dimensions of the stone cube that contains all of the insides of the base, this is going to be, for reference, 91 wide by 94 long by 39 blocks tall. So wherever you're going to be building this, you need an interior space that has roughly this volume to it. So if you're building this in the nether or in an end island, or wherever you choose to place it, you need to make some additional measurements and make sure that the interior of the base will fit in the space that you want to construct it. Otherwise, you're going to need to do additional terraforming on the inside. Now, for this purpose, I have also left out the count of the stone blocks because, I mean, it's like 250,000 and you're not going to fill this solid. I have only filled it in solid here to use it as a reference model for the tutorial itself. All right, so with all those dimensions set out, let us now do some measurements for the front. The front of the bottom here is where we're going to be starting. This is going to be your landing pad. So from here to here is going to be 9 blocks wide, and we should have a center line passing through here, even though the base is somewhat asymmetrical in a respect. The insides are actually very symmetrical. So as we go along, I may only focus on giving the measurements for one side of the building, but recognize that if you build something like this on that side of the center line, you need to mirror it on the other side like that as we go. But each of the faces are fully laid out. So as I've said, this is a 9 blocks wide, and you can use the measurements here for the sea lanterns and the cyan terracotta on the side to help you get back to this point in the wall here. And you will probably have to do some hand terraforming around it to fit the particular location, but this is a general point at which the base should interface with the mountain, and the rest of it should be sticking out like that. Now, there is a bit of detail on the underside here, so I will give you a good view at that. Remember, if I am moving too fast, all you have to do during the tutorial is pause the video and replicate the block patterns and spacing that you see on your screen. And if that is not good enough, the tutorial itself is also designed to serve as a companion to the world download, meaning that this entire world that I'm going to be showing you here today is of course available in the video description, so you can come here and take a look at all the phases for yourself if you need additional help. So with that, you then want to extend your white concrete all the way back to this point here, and then there is also some white concrete back here to serve as the base for the hexagon at the back there, although some of the measurements are a little off for that. The hexagon back here, it should actually be set back in 2 block increments here, but I added a few extra blocks and didn't really trim it back for the tutorial back there, but you can figure that out as you go, I'm sure. And the measurement from the end of the white concrete back there to this point back here, which is the cyan terracotta ring, is going to be 46 blocks. So let me give you a good top-down view here of this phase. As you can see, it is quite a large base and a large build project, but I have confidence that you will be able to do it. All right, let us move on to the next phase over here. So as I've said, we're going up 2 blocks, as you can see here. So let's start on the outside. We are extending the cyan terracotta ribbing up on the sides here, and the white concrete itself is also beginning to form the hexagonal shape of the base. So let me give you a good top-down view. As you can see, you are placing light blue stained glass on top of the sea lanterns, and then your spruce planks on top of that. And the walls for this in general are about 2 blocks thick. So you can use the spacings and the measurements here to reproduce those patterns. Remember, I suggest you start at the front and work your way back from here. And we have sea lanterns spaced out at regular intervals here till we get all the way to the back at this point where we are starting the lower of our first set of stairs here. And the measurement from here to here, I think that is going to be how many blocks? 8 blocks. So those all should be 8 block gaps there, except for when we get down here. It's just a little bit shorter. Looks like those are going to be 6 blocks that way. All right. Remember to do both sides the exact same. And once you have done that, we can go back here and start taking a look at the power core. Now, the measurements for the power core, if you draw your center line all the way through the base, it's going to be set back 3 blocks from the very back of the build back here. So you can use that measurement there, but let me also give you a measurement from here to here as well. So this is going to be 24 blocks set back from there as well. So you can use that measurement and this one to double check that. Now let me give you a good top-down view here. As you can see, we installed the white concrete floor below this, and we are beginning to build up the hexagonal room. And we are also beginning to build up the lower parts of the power core and the conduits. And as you can see, the observers are going crazy here. So let me knock some of this off and give you a good cutaway view on this, because below this we have observers that are going out in this direction here, and they are doing the same thing over here as well. And on top of that, on every other block, you're putting an observer facing up this way. Now for the power core itself, we have observers that below here, they are making a ring that feeds into the cells that goes around in a sequence like that. Is where you want to have your arrows facing in those directions, and on top of those, you just put observers facing up directly on top of all of those. And that will give us the light pattern that goes around this way and the patterns that go out that way to the various sides of that. All right, there's quite a lot of explanation. Let's move on to the next phase. We're going up 2 more blocks. Let's start at the exterior out here. So for this, we are focusing on these 2 blocks here. You are extending up the cyan terracotta ribbing again, and you can now clearly see how the hexagonal pattern is being made. Roughly like this with the white concrete, and we are putting the cyan terracotta ribbing on the outsides of those there. And as we ascend up, we are also cutting the entire structure back by 1 block for every 2 blocks that we ascend in height here. And we have some ribbing on the inside here as well for structural support, of course. And the light features over here that we began building on the last phase. You want to build those out according to these patterns here. And for these stairs over here, we have some more cyan terracotta and glass and spruce stairs here. And I believe we also have a landing forming for the stairs here, and we're going to be putting more stairs over here as well. So let me give you a good top-down view what we've got going on this complete segment. Remember, on the early segments, take your time to get everything correct. So let us also go back here and take a look at the power core again. At this point, the walls, you are just extending up with cyan terracotta over here. And you're putting on the tops of the power conduits, as you see done here, and redstone lamps on top of the observers that we added last time, like so, with a bit of glass in between those as well, according to these patterns here. Now, as we go along, there are some small things over here. I have designed this laboratory to use 3x3 piston doors, and this is the lower part of those doors. And I'm not really going to cover the redstone for that extensively, because everyone has their own method for constructing these 3x3 doors. But all of the pistons and the redstone that I indicated are materials for constructing these doors. and there are going to be 13 of them in the base. So I think at the end of the tutorial, I will double back on the redstone doors and show you those more completely. But for the purposes of the tutorial so far, let us go ahead and focus on the structure itself, and we will take a look at that redstone stuff at the end. Okay, so we are focusing on these two blocks here. And let's see, how do I describe this? So we have some floors that are going to be the bottoms of the side honeycombs. And those extend out how many blocks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks from the sides here, which we are continuing to step in a block, but also step out according to the 2x2 hexagonal pattern that we are building. And it is at this level you want to extend out that and wrap the lower ribbing around as you see done here, and also add a small detail of a sea lantern here with some glass underneath that. And you want to do the same exact thing on both sides. And once that is done, you're extending up the interior ribbing here for the entrance hallway a little bit more. You're extending up the lights and the cyan terracotta banding on both sides of those. You're also building out the stairwell here a bit more. I hope the glass here is going to be visible enough with the shaders. It can sometimes make it a little hard to see. So you want to build that out according to these patterns here. And as you can see at this point, that entire floor that you built is also extending into the mountainside as well. So let me give you a good top-down view of this phase of construction here. And let us move on to the power core here at the back again. So we're focusing on this section here, and it's just a band of sea lanterns with blue glass in front of it all the way around, with cyan terracotta put on top of that. And I believe for the main body of the power core, we have cyan terracotta, but on the inside of that, we have another ring that feeds into each other of observers in a little ring this way. And on top of that, you're going to be putting on vertical observers facing that way, and then redstone lamps on top of that. So let me give you a top-down view of this. Fairly simple thing to do. And over here, we do also have the lower sections of the sea lanterns for the lab sections that we're going to be putting in on the sides here. So I will give you a good top-down view of these. It's a fairly simple pattern, and you can use the corners here to get everything spaced out correctly. Let me give you a measurement from the corner. From here to here is going to be 10 blocks, and set it back 1 block, and then place your sea lantern there. And all of these, I believe, are going to be 3 blocks apart there. And you can just look at them and make the block counts from this yourself off of the measurements here. All right. I think that's as much damage as we can do to that phase. Let us move on to this one over here, where things get really, really complicated. All right, so let's start outside again on these sides here. You are building another hexagon over here that's going to go up in a 2x2 pattern like that. I think it's actually going to be more like that for the thickness of the wall. So you want to add some sea lanterns and glass on the sides here. And some cyan terracotta and glass around the front for the main windows. Of course, these are going to be the same on both sides. And on the interior of that, you then want to put in a spruce floor and build the walls out according to this pattern here. And build them back to a point where it interfaces with wherever the cliff face is that you're building in your world. And then you want to build a small hallway according to this pattern here, with more spruce, cyan, terracotta, concrete sea lanterns, and glass. All right, so on the inside here, we have reached the point where we have half of the lower hexagon done, and we are bending the ribbing up along this way, and it's going to go up that way, and then meet across the ceiling there as we go up to form the lower parts of your landing pad area. Back here, you can use the measurements for this glass light here to add your first horizontal pathway, which is of course 5 blocks wide, made up of spruce and cyan terracotta with a bit of glass guardrails here. There are glass guardrails along the sides here. And over here we are forming the lower part of the next staircase, which as you saw will take us up this way and over that way. So, the laboratories themselves, let's make some more measurements. You can use the cyan terracotta bits that we have been building here to help you get the measurements for these, because if you'll notice, this part here and this one over here lines up with the center line that will go into each of the separate sub-laboratory rooms. And these are how many blocks back? Looks like they are 7 blocks back from the glass. They're of course 3 blocks wide. And then from there you want to go this many blocks back to put in your first 3x3 piston doorway. And then continue on back to build your first hexagonal room back here. And build it out according to this pattern here. Just out of spruce and cyan terracotta. And it should fit with the glass right on top of the sea lanterns that you laid out in the last phase. So this should help serve as a check and a guide when you are constructing this to make sure you got the dimensions accurate. And let me give you a good top-down view of this so you can see that you need to construct each of the floors of those rooms a total of 6 times, done out according to this pattern here. And as you can see, we do also have more detail at the back here as well for the fusion core. Let me give you a good top-down view of this as well so you can replicate it as you see on your screen. Let me also land, and from the door you want to go back this many blocks here to get this measurement. I'll just mark it out in red wool there. And on the interior here, we're also putting in the glass floor that lets us see the active power core below. And this is the control console for the fusion reactor. And you want to build the entire thing out according to this pattern here. And remember, there are also some details of glass panes on the sides and in front of the redstone lamps of the reactor as well. And according to my timer, it looks like this is going to be a 2-part video, but I will cover this last phase here for part 1, and we will start with the next ones on part 2. But let us continue. You are building out the sides as you see done here. You're just extending up the concrete and terracotta and the glass here for the front. You're extending in the concrete here and the ribbing for your entrance landing pad. You're building out the side details here with the glass and the lights. We're extending up the stairs here with a couple of end rods for extra lighting in this area. We have a small landing here, and our stairs are going to continue up this way here. So let me give you a good top-down view of this section over here. Remember, these are symmetrical on both sides at this level. And there's also some detail on the inside here for some hidden lighting on the back there as well. So let's take a look at the sides here and a bit more of the side labs. We are building this up here with 2 blocks, and then we are setting it back a block. Because remember, the entire interior is also hexagons on their sides. And we have our doorways here and our hallways. And our 3x3 piston doors will go in this section here. And directly on top of what you did, I think it's pretty easy at this phase. All you need to do is add in 2 blocks of white concrete going straight up on top of the cyan terracotta on every single one of the labs. So let me give you a good top-down view of this section here. And of the middle here as well. As you can see on the sides, we are beginning to extend up the lighting details and the hexagons themselves, as well as some more of the staircase over here as well. Which all of this is just covered with blue stained glass with some sea lanterns hidden behind it here. And it is extending to the sides there and to the back here with a small detail of hidden lighting back here as well. And here's a view outside the reactor room. Give you an oblique angle for that. And once we go in the reactor room, it is also a simple phase. You're just extending up white concrete, set 1 block back from the cyan terracotta, as you see done here from the top down. You can also install your controls here with just your repeaters and comparators. And we also have 1 complete section of the reactor core. Should be done at this section here because they're going to be repeating from this point on. So let me kind of break this and slice it in half so you can see what we have going on here. So directly on top of the last redstone lamps you have, you're putting this level down here. You are building that again up here. And this is going to be a 4-block module that you will be putting on top of this, and you're just going to be stacking those on top of each other to give the lighting effects. So let me give you a good top-down view of this entire phase. And take your time and build everything out according to the patterns that I have been showing you. But that's going to be all the time we have for today. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial for the Futuristic laboratory so far. As you can tell, the interior is quite intricate, but the patterns I have used are fairly repetitive, so when you build one section of it, you should see how to build the other sections as well without too much difficulty. And remember, this entire world is available right now for download in the video description if you need to come here and take a look at it in person or take a schematic to use in Lightmatica to rebuild the base for yourself. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.